Hey guys, what's up? Today I've got clips that are devoted to the theme of how to be an invader. And by that I mean, what are the skills outside of combat that it takes to be successful? And quite frankly, these are skills that I've kind of lagged on. I tend to be so combat oriented that a lot of the things that most invaders take for granted are skills that it took me longer to develop, or in some cases, still haven't developed. But I had a number of good clips lately that kind of showcase some of the things I've been trying to do a bit differently. Starting here, you can see there's a host and a phantom. I think it's just two. I might, in some situations, be tempted to go out and just try and fight both of them out in the kind of open area there. But because of the state of the world, I know that these guys are going to have to come fight this mage. So I'm going to kind of just hang back here. And I'm sure this is the type of thing that most invaders would do all the time. But for me, for whatever reason, these are the types of ideas that don't normally occur to me. So I get a couple of good hits in on the Phantom, and I'm kind of content to hang back here. But then I go to look for the host, and he very wisely used a seed, but very unwisely has never apparently ever leveled Vigor, and so I'm able to kill him with two R1s. So this next invasion was quite a lengthy one. It took me a very long time to find the party. This is one of the reasons I don't invade in this area a whole lot, just because it's such a huge maze and it can take a long time to find people. So I see that phantoms have been summoned in successfully, so I head back to the bonfire thinking that that may be where they are. And obviously trying to make sure they're not setting up an ambush for me. These types of invader skills, I think I mentioned this before, but Saint at one time had referred to me or had recommended to people that were new to invasions but had been doing duels to come check out my channel, and it really made me realize just like how true that statement was, that a lot of the typical sort of invader skills were ones I didn't have. So here I've got the obscuring ring on. I've made some changes to my ring setup, so we'll talk a little bit more about this. But the obscuring ring lets me get right up on this crew, and they don't have a chance to react. Now, unfortunately, normally in that situation, I'm going to try to kill somebody, but it wasn't to be. So you can see here, it looks like I've got I think that's a poison meter. Maybe that's bleed. I'm embarrassed, I don't know the difference. But I go running back here to this area. This is probably one of the most dangerous. And I don't know if the Sunbro didn't realize that his whole crew didn't come with him, but now he's in some serious trouble. So the party's down one, and they very wisely are going to retreat now. And I think here the host was trying to do something smart. I think he was trying to go in and grab the Black Knight's aggro, but I'm not sure if that Black Knight will actually aggro on me. I know the one later in the level will, and in fact he's going to play a role in a video that's upcoming. Got a nice roll catch there. So I see the host take off there in the distance. The challenge here is as much just keeping an eye on him to make sure he doesn't run off and hide. Because if he decides to hide, it could take me forever to find him. I would probably just give up, to be honest. So another element that's a little bit new to my way of thinking is ring swapping. And again, this is one of these things that I know most invaders probably take for granted, but I've never been good at it, and I've kind of used my lack of skill as just an excuse to not do it. But I've made up my mind, this is something I'm going to get better at, so I've just kind of forced myself to start doing it. And a lot of times I'll end up getting beat up in the process, but I have gotten a little bit better at it, and I'm obviously sure I'll continue to improve. The ring swapping question here is I've got the obscuring ring on, but I really want to switch it out to the wolf ring, because if I put the wolf ring on, I've got a much better chance of being able to poise through his greatsword swings. I don't normally play with poise builds, but I've got a new one on my level 120 strength character. It's been a very, very eye-opening experience. It's really completely changed the way I play with my curved greatsword. You see there, I go to make the swap, but he was pressuring me a bit too much, and so I had to back off. Like right there. If I had had poise, I could have tanked that hit and swung through it, probably broken his poise, and then been able to follow up and combo into the second R1. Like right there. If I didn't have the wolf ring on, I don't think I would have been able to get all the way through my weapon art like that. The host here is actually doing a pretty good job. He's panic rolling a little bit, but he was rolling my R1s fairly well for a host. He was. So this is a bit of cheating on my part because this obviously is an invasion. This is me getting summoned in as a blue. And I really recommend to anyone out there that if you haven't played around with this Covenant, you really should. It's really fun to see invasions from the host party's perspective. And I have the Obscuring Ring on, and I do that because I want the Invader to see what appears to be the lone host. I want him to think that he doesn't have any backup, because that'll get him to come in fairly courageously, and it will only too late will he realize that he actually has company. So the red here is doing the smart thing. He's taking off among the curse frogs. Now I know something that the red may have just learned, which is that this host has killed virtually everything in this level. In fact, it took me a long time to find the host because everything was dead, and I mean everything. So I'm not sure if he's just trying to comb every nook and cranny for everything. Maybe he's doing a dried finger run. Who knows? But the red obviously is trying to lure us into whatever PvE he can find. And right here, I know exactly how this invasion is going to end. And if you think about it, you might realize too, given that this invader just keeps trying to take us further and further into the level. So let's see what happens. So I look and I see that the Black Knight is gone, and I suspect this was like his last hope. He was hoping that the Black Knight would be here. And I'm not sure, I think this one would, for sure this one would have aggroed on all of us. And I know he's going to try and go up the ladder, so I've already got my throwing knives equipped. And one of the interesting things is when you fall off a ladder like that, even though you can't move, you don't have iframes. It's one of the only cases in the entire game that I'm aware of that acts like that. And so you are completely vulnerable in that situation. I think I actually learned that from Revion and his ladder play, which is top notch. I'm guessing most people who've seen my channel have seen his already, but if not, go watch his videos and what he does on the ladders. It's amazing. So I think I mentioned my ring setups are a bit different. I have not abandoned the Hornet ring, but I've started leaving it off more and more frequently in favor of the Obscuring ring and in favor of the Cat ring. It's less about the value of those rings. I've always known that those rings have a lot of value. It's more about me not pairing so much anymore. I mean, when I think about it, in a night of 15 or 20 invasions, I may parry once, and it's just not worth blowing an entire ring slot on that. Now, in some cases, like Spear of the Church, I'll keep it on because I break a lot of guards and it's worth it. So here with the Obscuring ring on, I run up, and rather than engaging the party directly, I start spamming Undead Hunter charms at them because they're in a very difficult spot here. Uh, that Earthol jailer, I think they're called, has likely reduced their max health. And so now they're all in like full panic mode. The Sunbro dies to the PvE, and the host is not far behind him. But that type of approach is a complete departure from the way I would have approached this invasion probably even a month ago. I forced myself to kind of slow down and think more about what's going on. And this is an interesting case, too, of slowing down and thinking more about what's going on. I see a lone host playing the level by himself, which, again, I always say this, I respect anybody that does that. He's got the Fallen Knight set on, so I'm guessing he's probably pretty new, but I'm going to kind of see how he's doing. And it becomes pretty clear he doesn't have much of any idea what he's doing. So I let him back off so he can heal up. There I show him a bit of the hyper armor, and his chaos sped vestiges weren't doing a ton of damage, so he's probably made the same mistake a lot of newbies make, which is they spread themselves too thin rather than trying to specialize in one or two skills. They throw their stats all over the place, and they don't do very well with any one of them. So because I forced myself to slow down and think about what was happening, there's many times where I've gone super try hard after a lone host, and only after the invasion ends did I realize, like, that guy seemed pretty new. Maybe I should have gone a bit easier on him. So here I finally forced myself to slow down enough to realize, like, hey, this guy is really quite new. Let's give him a chance. And there I realize he's out of Estus, and I think he's pumping it a couple times to show me. So I drop a bunch of embers for him. On some of my high-level characters, I may have been tempted to drop him some Sigbrows, or maybe like a Divine Blessing. But in this case, I don't have enough of those things. And here I'm afraid he's not going to see the embers. So I really hope he got something out of that experience. I felt a lot better about myself after that invasion than I normally do after solo hosts. So this is another example. I've got when I invade here now, I don't wear the Hornet ring. I keep on the Cat ring and the Obscuring ring. And it has really changed the way that I play this level. Knowing that anytime you can fall off most of these cliffs and not take damage, it's a real change in mindset. I think the problem that I made before was it was only when I was confronted with a jump that I really wanted to make that I would think, I wish I would have had the Cat ring on. And those times didn't happen all that frequently. But when you do wear it, there are opportunities that suddenly present themselves to you that you wouldn't have even considered previously. And that to me has been a big advantage of wearing this ring. Even something stupid, excuse me, like dropping off that ledge instead of taking the ladder down. So obviously I top off my Estus here in preparation for the 2 Estus I'm going to get from the blue. So I'm back at full health, and I have my 7 Estus. So funny enough, I was in Project Goof's stream the other day, and I was hunting him with a great bow, and I had the obscuring ring on, but he was able to see me, and I couldn't figure out how the hell he was doing it. Fortunately, I had his stream on, and so I would hear him talking, and he said, "Oh, well, Amish thinks I can't see him, but he's got a green blossom, so I can see exactly where he is." And of course, I was hearing it like 10, 15 seconds after it was happening. I felt pretty stupid. Um, and that stream happened after this video got recorded because I couldn't figure out how in the hell this phantom was able to see me and hit me with lightning arrows. Um, and I kind of just pushed the thought away and thought, well, maybe the range of the obscuring ring isn't what I thought it was, but I'm pretty sure I was in obscuring ring range, so I'm guessing that's why. So here I have a brainwave. I plan to come up here and shoot great bow shots at these guys, but then I think verticality, and this host gets in the perfect position for me to land a plunging attack. And this all came together because of a bunch of reasons. One, because I started wearing the cat ring and the obscuring ring consistently on this level. And two, I'm thinking more and more about trying to think about these things like an invader, like thinking beyond the combat, trying to tilt the playing field in my favor somehow. You know, when people lock onto you with that lightning arrow, as long as you just kind of keep moving around, they can't really hit you. I had some sloppy play here for sure, though. Like, I almost lose the invasion a couple of times. And here I'm running back and forth because I can hear the lightning arrow. I felt really, really good about that. The curl up from the Phantom was priceless. And for my final clip, this is my last example of thinking like an invader. So just like in the Corvian settlement, I've got the cat ring on and I've got the obscuring ring on. You know, and in some ways, man, I gotta say, I feel silly making this video. And I hear the sounds of combat from below, so I decide to go pile on while these guys are fighting the hand monsters. But unfortunately, I arrive just as they've dispatched the last of the three. But I feel stupid because I imagine that a lot of the people who watch these videos are thinking to themselves, yeah, dumbass, that's what everyone else has already been doing, you know, using these rings, and you've been using the Hornet ring. And in fairness to myself, I think my play style was such at one point where I relied much more on parries, where that ring setup may have made more sense for me. But I don't know what I'm going to do. I may end up giving up on like the FAP ring or the life ring and trading one of those out for the Hornet ring in certain circumstances, because I also think that even though I'm less reliant on parries now, I may have gone too far in that direction. Like one of these nights, I think I'm just going to try for a lot more parries than I normally do and see how well that works out. These guys are obviously reluctant to come out. So I come up here and I switch over to the black fire bombs, and I think I'm just going to rain some fire bombs down on them. And then I think better of it, and I realize that this is a great opportunity to launch some great arrow shots at these guys. I mean, if I'm lucky enough to hit them with a black fire bomb, maybe I hit them for 120 points of damage. Maybe, but it's unlikely that my first one's going to hit them. It's just going to alert them to my presence, and then they're going to move. But that way I was able to get like 240 points of damage out of a single shot. Now, in some of my builds, I have like 10 attunement, and so in those cases I might equip force, and this would be a great opportunity to use it. And in fact, this build does have, I think, enough attunement. Yeah, I have something equipped. I could have force equipped on this build, so that's probably an oversight on my part. I probably should have force. And that Sunbro just does not have much health at all. And I think the host there might have been trying to use a seed, and he almost kills me there. I was very lucky to get away. This blue was laggy as hell. Here it's not so bad, but in a little bit it'll be worse. Actually, maybe it was just the lag spike from the other blue coming in. So obviously he's used a seed. In retrospect, what I probably should have done here was I should have aggroed the Mimic. Or I should have waited maybe towards the end of the seed's life and then aggroed the Mimic. I'm not sure like why his shield popped there at the end. And you can see here, obviously, the PvE taking care of the host, which is like the best ending imaginable to this invasion. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the clips today. Thanks for checking in. Take care now.